3,900 children were separated from their families.
450,000 kids were lost under the Biden administration. You didn't say a word about it.
Mr. Secretary, do not interrupt.
Don't you point your finger at me. Don't
I
be a
will
hypocrite.
point my finger at you.
Don't you be a hypocrite then. Then you be a threat. You should be as upset about the 450,000 kids that were lost. You didn't say a word about it. For 4 years, you never said a word.
Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro of Connecticut is not a casual questioner. She is the ranking Democrat on the House Appropriations Committee. That means she follows the money, agency budgets, federal programs, court orders, settlements, deadlines. And in this hearing, she did not come with one accusation. She came with a sequence: family separation, TSA privatization, FEMA disaster funding, a federal court order, a city still waiting for mitigation money, and 54 deaths in civil detention. Across from her sat Markwayne Mullin, Donald Trump's Secretary of Homeland Security. The department he leads controls border detention, immigration enforcement, airport security, and disaster response. DeLauro's questions were specific. The answers were not. Watch how she builds the record, one number at a time.
I appreciate, and I said to you at the outset, there's concern for children across the board. We care deeply about what's happening to children. And I went to the border and I watched children in those fenced-in places years ago and what was happening to them. So I have a long history, Mr. Secretary, in this area. 3,900 kids were separated. Secretary Azar told me he had a way to reunite them. Many of them were not reunited till today. And I don't want you to answer this now. Please get back to us and tell us what you are doing with regard to the settlement in terms of this issue, which is out there, which your department needs to come close to. I'll make a statement to you again. But this is fact from the bill, Mr. Chairman. The bill that the Republicans have proposed for funding the Department of Homeland Security cuts cybersecurity budget by more than $250 million. It cuts the TSA by nearly $350 million. And the Trump administration is openly advocating for privatizing TSA while trying to eliminate their collective bargaining rights. We all know what happened earlier this year. TSA workers endured the longest government shutdown in history. There was a lot of discussion and talk invoked about the long lines and the use of leverage to force through a Homeland Security bill without any reforms to what were critical ICE and CBP reforms that were necessary, that the American people wanted and were clamoring for. They didn't want to continue to see masked marauders on their streets with just harassing people. Congress eventually passed my legislation that paid TSA workers, funded FEMA, CISA, Secret Service, and the Coast Guard. And today, and it took you 79 days on the Republican side to make that decision to pay these people instead of just talking about paying this. The administration continues to attempt to walk away from the collective bargaining agreement with TSA workers, something that the federal courts have now twice said is illegal. Indeed, your testimony frames the attempt to force over 200 smaller airports in this country into a new security structure as a setting. And quote, the TSA, this is in the testimony, the TSA is on the path to privatization. My question on this issue is, given all that the transportation security offers did for us during a Republican shutdown, how can it be that the department's position is that TSA workers should not be granted the same basic labor protections as federal enforcement officers? How can it be that your priority is to have them work for the lowest bidder, where the wages and the benefits of these workers will unquestionably be lower?
Well, actually, it was the Democrats that voted every time to shut them down. Republicans voted every time to open them up.
Pass.
So
just give me
we
the
didn't
answer
shut them
to my
down. You
question.
shut them down.
Answer my question.
I did.
What are you doing? Why are you moving?
Ma'am, I answered your question. You were the one that shut them down. It was the Democrat shut down. How many times did you vote to shut them down?
Why? You know, these people come to us to get funding for the work that they do, and we
I'm actually factually correct. I'm factually correct. You voted to shut them down. Republicans voted to open them over and over and over again. Your vote clearly stated that you voted to shut us down. And it wasn't until it became popular. And then, by the way, ICE agents came there and helped bring the lines down. The same people that you also kept shut down for 150 days. I'm answering the question.
No, you didn't.
I thought you said you answered it. The floor is hers.
My dear,
Actually, I gave it to her. You know, there is a chairman of a committee. That's me. I gave it back to her.
this tells
She's
you
got it.
something about who these folks are. And
Do you have
everybody
another
on this
question,
panel.
Madam Ranking
Well,
Member?
yeah, no, I do, but I didn't get an answer to a question.
This is where the hearing stops being a viral confrontation and becomes a paper trail. DeLauro does not chase the interruption. She returns to the record. She says the concern for children must apply across the board. Then she brings the committee back to the Trump-era family separation policy. 3,900 children separated from their families. Secretary Azar, reunification, and a settlement that still requires answers from the Department of Homeland Security. That is her first frame. Not outrage, but accountability. Then she follows the money. Cybersecurity cuts, TSA cuts, privatization, collective bargaining, airport workers being asked to protect the public, while the administration moves toward weaker protections and lower-cost labor. This is not abstract. Cybersecurity protects hospitals, airports, water systems, and local governments. TSA staffing affects the line your family stands in before boarding a plane. Mullin's answer does not resolve that question. He turns to the shutdown. He blames Democrats. He changes the subject. And that becomes the pattern. When DeLauro asks about policy, the answer becomes politics.
Your next
Okay, and I will. This has to do with FEMA. Simple question. And I want to start where I left off with Secretary Noem last year. FEMA. Simple yes or no. Do you support eliminating FEMA? Do you support eliminating FEMA?
There's portions of FEMA that
Do you
need to be back in
support
state.
eliminating
There's no
FEMA?
yes or no question on that. There's
Do you
portions that need to go back to
support
the state.
eliminating FEMA?
The record will reflect the
That
response.
is
The record will reflect the response. Is there another
supports
question?
it. Yeah, because let me just say, in April of 2025, the Trump administration prematurely, I'm glad we got that answer, because the poor gentleman who came before, it may have been with you, Mr. Chairman, that came before our committee, and I asked him this question, and he said, because Secretary Noem said, yes, she and the president wanted to eliminate FEMA. The gentleman said that he said it should be reformed, and the next day he was fired. Let it show that the secretary believes that we should shut FEMA down.
I never
April
said
2025,
that.
the
Mr.
administration.
Chairman, I never said that.
The administration prematurely,
The record will
unlawfully
reflect what you did and didn't
ended
say accurately.
FEMA's BRIC program. He intentionally halted roughly 2,000 active infrastructure and disaster mitigation projects across the country, including one in downtown New Haven, Connecticut. A coalition of 22 states and D.C. sued FEMA. A federal judge ruled in favor of the states in December, mandated that FEMA restore the over $3.6 billion and canceled funding. At the beginning of March, the judge had to order FEMA to comply with that ruling. 3 months ago, the day after you took over as secretary, FEMA formally announced a, quote, new and improved BRIC program. Yet, almost all of these communities are still waiting for their BRIC funding to be restored. Tell me, Mr. Secretary, when can communities with halted projects expect to receive their BRIC funding?
We actually restarted that when I first came in, and we did 24 or 25 of them. So
You've done 24 of the 25
Yes,
of the
ma'am.
2,000.
I mean, let me clarify that. So
Please.
2024 and 2025, they sent out the notice of notification so everybody can now submit, and those projects that were already submitted for those times period will be
How many projects are there?
We can get you the details. on
Please,
that.
there were 2,000 that we started with were,
The Secretary also provided direction for 2026 to get the NOFOs out on that, and that'll come out sometime in September. The Secretary has done more to get that.
I do not need your, you do not need to.
I just want to make sure you're
Well,
clear.
please.
Okay.
Spare us, just give me the facts. Just give
did.
me the numbers. Let me just conclude, Mr. Chairman, and thank you. I'd like to work in an open and transparent way, because that BRIC funding for New Haven, Connecticut, which I probably will not get because I'm in a blue state, that the BRIC funding for New Haven, Connecticut is important, which is why we support the programs, bipartisan support for the BRIC program. So please, let's get the NOFOs out as quickly as possible and get the money to the communities that need them. My final comment to you is, I'd just like to go back a second. We need to go back to the issue of deaths in custody. It doesn't do anyone good to deflect, talk about what's happening in the criminal system in Illinois or in Oklahoma. What we need, because 54 deaths are 54 in what is civil detention. We need a plan to address the fact that 54 people in your department they were in civil detention, it's not criminal detention, are dead. They should not be. We need to hear from you. I don't need an answer. Now there is no time. I've taken an enormous amount of time. Get us a policy, a plan, in a timely fashion that says how are we going to deal with these issues. I yield back and I thank you, Mr.
The second clip is the legal center of the dossier. DeLauro begins with a question simple enough for the record. Do you support eliminating FEMA? Mullin does not give a clean yes. He does not give a clean no. He says parts of FEMA should go back to the states. That answer matters because FEMA is not a slogan. FEMA is the federal backstop when disaster overwhelms a city or a state. Floods, hurricanes, wildfires, tornadoes. When local capacity breaks, federal capacity can mean recovery instead of abandonment. Then, DeLauro narrows the case to BRIC, a disaster mitigation program built around prevention before catastrophe. According to her questioning, roughly 2,000 active projects were halted, states and D.C. sued, a federal judge ordered funding restored, and communities like New Haven were still waiting. The response becomes procedural: notices, submissions, NOFOs, September. But process is not protection. A city cannot stop flooding with paperwork. A family cannot rebuild around a future deadline. Then comes the final number: 54 deaths in civil detention, not criminal detention. Civil detention, under DHS authority. She asks for a plan, and the record is still waiting.